All right. Well, welcome to anybody who might come along. We're just a bunch of people that are coming out of Christianity, trying to find the truth that is vibrating all around us. What an amazing time it is to live. I promise you, it is an amazing time to live. And though, in many ways, things may also be worrisome or chaotic or unsure, and all of those things are certainly true. There is certainly much going on. There is also much that is being released, and much that is being resolved, and much that is being exposed. And it really does take the ability to be able to transcend. We'll find a lot out tonight about, as always, with Madame Blavatsky. Her intelligence is just absolutely overwhelming. She was so deep. It's so cool. I don't know how many of you have. I haven't really talked. I just kind of introduced this friggin' 2.5-year book, and yet she was such a wonderful, amazing human. For those of you who may not know, she experienced more of the reality of the spirit world than probably anybody. And I even will equate that with the Dolores Cannons and the Edgar Caseys. It's really amazing, all that she experienced, all that she saw, and all that she understood. And so there are people who, there's so much stuff going on, and there's so much teachings, and one person goes in this direction and one goes in that direction, and sometimes it's really hard to kind of try to make sense of all of it, especially if you're coming out of a massive deception to begin in the first place. And so if you're discerning, you can kind of see where the Spirit is pushing, is directing, and so it just is crazy, the blessings that are available right now. And actually, it's really funny, they've been available all along. And so there was one that said one of the main changes that's happening right now in the spirit move that we're in is that perspective is changing drastically. And so it's to the point you may have had one belief system for a long time, or even for a short time, and in the course of a couple of days, all of a sudden something happens in your and of course, with all of these things, with any gift that's given, there's a responsibility. And so I really think that that's something that we should all maybe be conscious of anyways is that their responsibilities and obligations, I've said it again and I'm going to say it again, consciousness does not lower the standard. If you are lowering your standard of who you are as a person, you are becoming less conscious. And it is happening, and it is going to happen. We see that in our country. The split and the divide that's going on in our country is a move towards less consciousness and more consciousness at the same time. And I think that you would really be able to put some perspective to that if you would really stop and think about that. Anytime something good happens, there's something bad that's going to come along. And not that bad is bad, which is a new revelation as well. Oftentimes the bad is the thing that we should value and hold the most sacred, because it forces us to do something. And so I'll say all these words and they'll go through a lot of people's heads and will never mean anything. But if there's one out there, I'm speaking to you. And so Madame Blavatsky was absolutely phenomenal. And as we go along, and hopefully you guys will get in, I don't know if any of you have even had any interest, but I've started reading also The Secret Doctrine. And it's almost more potent, but these bases that she went about to set out here, her journeys, the mystical people that she got to function with, the knowledge that she gained, the learning of the spirit realm. And I don't know for you guys, but I'm just now being taught by my higher self the reality, and I'm seeing more things go on just coming. And so, you know, a lot of people think that spirituality is about watching a YouTube thing on how you can manifest and become a millionaire. And I promise you, that's really got nothing to do with anything. But that's what everybody seeks, which is also a picture of the whole inside thing. And so as we learn maybe to value and call our frequency sacred, which is something that if you haven't, you'll hear me say that a lot. I am learning that it is one of the most sacred things. It is what's going to determine what happens to me. I was listening recently, and a pretty well-known channeler gave some insight and wisdom about what's happening. There are people in the spirit realm that are expecting, so please, I guess I need to go back. Has been for thousands of years this prophetic words coming from the other side of the veil that tell us that there is a splitting in the earth, okay? It is in your Bible. It's the prophecies in the book of Revelation. It's the new heaven and the new earth coming down, wherein lives righteousness. So when I tell you there is no moral obligation, it's really funny because this isn't really about obligations. This is about spirit things that deter you from ever being able, or in some cases to maybe being able in lesser quantitude or magnitude, to access in the spirit realm. And when you come to the understanding that those that fully remember will begin to function in the same kind of concepts that these other spirit people did in the past, it's always been available to humans. But this time has really been set apart. It's been spoken about. Bashar brings a message to us that the first wave of high frequency people are leaving this earth next year. So there's been lots of pieces that have been rushing at me. So you say, well, I don't even know that I believe that there's a shift going on. That's okay. I mean, it's okay for you if you don't get it, if you don't see it, if you don't feel it, if you don't resonate. It's all okay. I'm just speaking to the ones who do know inside instinctively that there is more than what we've been living, which I've known my whole life. I've seen the spirit realm my whole life. I just did not understand what I was seeing. And so now some things are starting to make sense, thoughts and things I've gone through. I recognize now that I thought it was the spirit of the God of the Bible who was doing all the things that have been done, and I saw many things from words spoken and intuition and knowledge and all of those things in Christianity, but it had nothing to do with Christianity. It was about the true spirit. So the people that did not have it there are still do not have it here. That's it's crazy how real this stuff really is. And so as we begin to learn to push out of our lives in many ways some of the things that you will find are going to deter you, slow you down, and at the same time be able to have the freedom to go in the flow of what is going on. So if in fact it is right, there will be some phenomena that go on here in the next while. In fact, I will say that this whole cycle has been predicted for thousands of years, will run all the way until 2050. It's a 30-year cycle. From here to 2030 is supposed to be the most active time, but the cycle, just like it did in the beginning of this cycle, it was less, but people began to take notice. They began to recognize that there was a lot more of people that were functioning away or acting away, and then it became mainstream, and now we're into the mainstream releasing, but it's still the same process. A person has to first off recognize, I think there's a piece that we have to be the one that awakens because we are not even sure for most people what it is that you're supposed to be looking for. The shift that's going to happen in humanity is going to happen totally based on your frequency. It has nothing to do with your morality, although if you are high frequency, your morality will be above even what we humans thought was moral. So do you see that? It's not the important thing, it's actually an outworking of consciousness and you connecting at a greater level. And I said it again, I'll say it for you. If you think that higher consciousness means you can act less, you need to go get a Merriam's and find out what high consciousness means. It means that you are aware of everything, that you walk every day in your life and have no consciousness of. That's your behaviors, that's your thoughts, that's your actions, it's all of it. And so I'm really sad because I watch a lot of people that have actually let their guard down and they're actually moving away from that while they convince themselves that they're moving towards it. And if you understand that principle, then it's really not as difficult to see as one might think. That's something, if we find ourselves in that position, that we can overcome by what? By becoming conscious again. And the spirit realm is certainly there for those. There was a statement made, and I wanted to share this. The universe doesn't care what you think. The universe does not care about your morality. All of the things we were taught in Christianity really have no importance. They were distractions, okay? And Yeshua taught this, and I see now how, although I was one out of few pastors who actually saw this, but there was no one to help me understand it, and it took the spirit realm this many years to get me a place that I was opened up enough to be able to see these things, and now they're becoming easier and easier and easier, and the manifestations of my crown chakra opening and things like that are going on, and they're going on by themselves. And so you will hear people say this, and if they say this, then you can at least know that it's true. It's only when you quit that you begin. And not quitting ties you to what you have been. You figure that out for yourself. I know exactly what it means, but you figure that out for yourself. But I promise you, the spirit realm will never work for you until you begin to relinquish all of the things that you desire so bad. In fact, you'll never get until you quit expecting or wanting, and yet there's also an expectancy. And so that led me to the other place before I started reading that I felt like I needed to share. There's been so much words said about karma, and if I've confused you, I know I've confused some people here that I've talked to, and if I've confused you, I'm sorrowful. But I think that really the greater spirit lesson here is because this is applicable in almost everything that is being encountered in the spirit realm right now. And so one might ask, well, what is karma? I remember as a Christian making fun of all of those basically brain dead hippies who were talking about karma. And I have to be honest with you, I'm quite ashamed, and I have had to repent of that massively. So we have these definitions of things. I have said, and I certainly know a lot of people that this is their picture, that karma has to do with you getting something bad because you did something bad. It's a payment system. It is the ideologue taught in the Christian Bible, which is why that's the only way that you can understand it. And when you begin to understand that we are not at war with universe, in fact, universe is waiting for us to do our part. I shared with somebody a few weeks ago, it was funny how the Spirit speaks, but the Spirit said to me, I'm glad that you have finally arrived. And I've gone through 4 different perspectives of that, and I believe all of them are different dimensions, and they're all true. And so for those of you who may not understand that there are multiple dimensions going on, and there are multiple timelines that are happening all at the same time, that there are multiple people that wear you, the Spirit. And for many, that's already enough to blow your head away. But back to this karma thing. So many of us have a picture, an idea that karma is it's the payment that somebody gets back. And I shared another metaphor with you, which is where I kind of brought the confusion in, because on one side it's a payment for your bad behavior or a payment for your good behavior. And then on the other side, I say, well, it's really you not learning the lesson fast enough, so you have to keep going around the mountain. And I used that principle and taught it a lot in Christianity. I did not equate it as being karma, but it certainly is, okay? And so I'd like to add a third piece, which won't complete the diamond yet, but it certainly will help some of you that are struggling. And the essence of what we hear the word when you think of karma, when you hear of karma, the perspective that I think is most appropriate is going around the mountain. But here is really a piece that for me has changed the last couple of weeks, and that would be this, that as we understand these things, it's going to be a constant throwing away. So I'm going to tell any of you who will ascend, who will elevate your frequency, that it is a constant purging. In fact, all of the things that you see going on the earth are being explained in this spirit time, because the earth is going through what humans are going through as well. And so what's going on in the earth is purging the things that do not resonate anymore. And So if we'll take karma and use karma in the correct, when you see karma, when you do something and that thing comes back and hits you in the face, a little better, more profitable understanding of that might be then is that in reality, karma is the signal to us that we have stepped out of balance. And so when you take karma as that, instead of some punishment for, or even some blessing for, then you do these things, and you now, if you're back to Christianity, you're only doing things because that's the way that you learned how to get something. And it has nothing to do with that. Friends, we're going to be dead in our human bodies inevitably. We're going to leave them. For some, your human body is going to be changed, and in this graduation of the school called life, then and only then will we become to a place that we can begin to understand full humanity. As it is right now, we are base humanity. We are not the fullness of what humans that I read to you on Saturday that were created before the archons. We are not that yet. But that is part of the plan, and that's the purpose for you going there. And so when I said that there is a changing that's going on, what you will begin to watch is people will become less and less tolerant of low frequency or even lower frequency people than themselves. And that's been spoken a lot, that you know, and unfortunately separation isn't always the way that you fix your frequency problem. If you understood the universe always sends you what you need, which is almost never what you want. So if you are a person that craves only this, and we need quiet in a massive level, this is a noisy world we live in, and we need those times of peace, and we need those times of reflection, and we need all of those things, but we also need the struggle that life brings. That's part of why we came in, because you can't get this anywhere else. And so for many of you who may not have quite yet figured out that all of a journey of our metempsychosis is, which is really, just so you know, that word, because you'll see it come up a lot. When you see that word, or when I read that word simply means reincarnation. And so your reincarnation is just another class. So let's say I've had 1,000 lives and I've come in. That would be the equal to saying that I've taken 1,000 Earth life classes. Maybe some of you could relate to that, because it's really important that you understand this wasn't just so you could come down here and live like you've been living your whole life. You know, I think about it, just popped in about the purpose-driven life. It's so funny that guy had nothing to teach but a crock of stuff, and yet the title is absolutely the truth. You came in with a specific set of purposes of things that you needed to learn. You came in with a specific set. Not God sent you, not the collective soul made you. These were decisions that you made before you came into this life about the things that you either hadn't experienced or had experienced. And here's another piece that goes with this. My understanding is that there are many souls that are maybe on the more mature level, that for every life they live, that they come in and things are abundant. Maybe they, you know, whatever, Elvis, you take anybody you want, Donald Trump. They are experiencing and have experienced in that lifetime that we saw, they got to experience a lot of abundance. Well, so I understand the mass majority of spirits would then also come back in, and one of their next lives would be tied towards the exact opposite of that spectrum. And everything that I'm saying totally blows away the human construct of reality, because when you understand this life has no purpose except to teach you something. It's not about you having kids. It's not about you passing along posterity. It's not about having a name that people don't forget. It's not about how much money you make. None of that crap means anything. What means something is, did you find and complete the lesson that you yourself chose before you manifested as whatever your name is? And so when you begin to do that, this isn't such a foreign place. It's really a place that we come in and we learn something and we take it and we go away to the other side of the veil and we talk and we learn and we function and we make decisions about what we're going to come in next. And so if you can begin to let a little bit of what I've said, I promise you it'll revolutionize your life in the way you look at everyday life. That's why I say that our frequency is so sacred, because the people that are going to get left here are going to get left here to continue going through the cycle. Just so that you know, and this has been said for hundreds of years, this thing that's going on right now that we are in the middle of and will continue on for the next 20 years, this thing that we're in is a graduation, if you would, an evolution and a graduation together of frequency. This is all about the remembering. So stop and take that for a second. The remembering. What does that invoke in you, and what does that mean to you? Because the whole purpose, and you're going to see it, it pops up in all of Helena's stuff, and she was before any of the modern stuff that's being put on YouTube, friend. 99% of it that's true came from her. First off, that's the first thing. The guy that created something and put it on YouTube, I didn't create any of this. All I've done is gone and find what the ancients did, which is the way humanity has always progressed. Those that do go find, they progress. The ones that don't stay very low density and they struggle and they go through again and all of that. The end, inevitably, many believe, is that inevitably 10,000 years from now, just as humanity has existed now, they know for a fact has existed over 250,000 years. Many things are pushing to artifacts and bones they're finding in DNA sequencing. Because of the increase in DNA sequencing, they actually are looking more towards a model that takes us to 400,000 years. Almost 500,000 years humans have been walking this ball of soft mush that grew hair. And so the lies that you've been filled with your whole life about what reality is, friends, when they tell you it's a lie and it ain't nothing but a hologram, that's exactly correct. And so, but I wanted to share that with you. Maybe if you embrace when you have a problem that come at you, instead of immediately jumping off and losing your frequency, what if you would just separate yourself from it and begin in your mind to contemplate, what is it that I'm out of balance? You're out of balance when you see things that aren't functioning in the manner, or you continue to see the same thing over and over again. And you probably, if you've listened at all, you've heard a lot of people say that. Well, you will keep encountering the same kind of, so if there is a specific person that just rubs you raw as heck, have you noticed that you constantly seem to keep meeting those people? That is karma. And you are out of balance, and so there's where back to the I am. How many of you have begun to even pay attention to your I ams? Instead of I am sick, I am mad, I am all of these negative things, you begin to put those things and recognize. Here's one that I share that I've been using a lot, and it's really blowing me away because it's changing my principles massively. And that is this, that I am the head and I am not the tail. I am above and I have never been beneath. And when you begin to believe that about yourself, your life will begin to change. You can't change because you haven't changed. That's why. That's why it's so grievous and laborious. Because to be quite honest with you, it's easy as heck to change. So for all of you who struggle with that, maybe that'll give you some enlightenment and help you begin to understand. So we're going to jump in here. Madame Blavatsky is giving us the basis for the struggle. The struggle is still going on. The struggle is going on between materialism and spiritualism. And materialism says you don't need spiritualism because everything is matter. And that's the science world. That's the universe. That's our Earth picture that has been propagated for us. They cannot equate spirit and matter as being different pieces of the same whole. So that's why psychics and mediums people are so scared of them, is because they're functioning in the spirit realm, and even an unbeliever seeing somebody do something supernatural will begin to believe that. We've watched enough of this stuff, and a person starts to show out and says, well, I didn't ever believe there was no ghost, and yet when their walls started getting knocked on and things started flying off the wall at them, all of a sudden, guess what happens to them? They become a believer. Why is that? Because it was a manifestation that you knew could not come from anywhere except the spirit realm. I mean, show me the force that grabs things and throws it off the wall at people. Show me the force that walks upstairs and yet there's nothing there. You can't show it. Why? Because it's spiritual. And so what's happening is science is being forced. Quantum physics is doing a lot of it. Science is being forced to accept the reality that the paradigm that they have lived under is a lie. And Madame 100 years plus ago was teaching that. Guys, I can't put anything more potent in your hands than what this woman has been gifted to say. Is she the end it all? Absolutely not. I could list you off 20 spirit people that have lived across the ages that you can go read their books. I have several that are coming now. And her secret doctrine, which is what this is all about, is that we've always been light, is just as profound. But to be quite honest with you, Isis Unveiled opens the door so that book will make sense to you, because it is so deep. So let me be quiet, because I got lots of things to say. Hey, blessed are you guys. You know what? We are wonderful and amazing and powerful and potent, and we just have to see it. And so we left off on page 10 if you have the book. And I'm going to jump back to page 9 and go to the first paragraph, or the last paragraph. So in the serpent mantra, the Brahmana declares as follows, that this mantra is that one which was seen by the queen of serpents. You remember we read that, Sarpa Rajni, because the earth, the Ayam, is the queen of the serpents, as she is the mother and queen of all that moves, which is Sarpat. In the beginning, she, the earth, was but one head, round, without hair, in other words, bald, without vegetation. She then perceived this mantra which confers upon her who knows it the power of assuming any form which he might desire. Now, I want to stop right there, and I could spend 2 hours just speaking about what's going on here. Friends, I know that you can't access it, but we have unlimited power over the universe right now. It exists in you. When you hear Christ in you, the hope of glory, that's what that's all about. It got a damn thing to do with Christianity. It's about what you are inside that you can't even believe about yourself, which I believe is turning out to become clear to me that may be where the field is the most barren. Because it really, until you begin to believe these things, and I don't mean just you consciously think that they might be true. I'm talking about when your belief system is in alignment with source, the universe, that there can be no opportunity for doubting the universe. When that begins to manifest in you, you'll start seeing all kinds of weird crap go on. And so, she then perceived this mantra which confers upon him who knows it. Do you know why they want to sell you manifestation? Because they're doing the same thing to you that they did through the ages. Sell you a dog and pony show that will hide you from the work that will expose you to your supernaturalness. That's what the game is. This is a game. My grandson plays video games very well. Take that and turn your life into that, and you'll be blown away by how much things all of a sudden start popping up in the universe around you. She pronounced the mantra. She said an invocation. She invoked the spirit realm by spoken words, and we were told in Christianity that that's devil worship. So she pronounced the mantra, in other words, sacrifice to the gods, and in consequence immediately obtained a motley appearance. She became variegated and able to produce any form she might like, changing one form into another. This mantra begins with the words, Ayam Ga Prisnir Akramit. And there'll be something for me that'll happen. There'll be, every time I speak this, something spiritually has happened for me. The description of the earth in the shape of a round and a bald head, which was soft at first and became hard only from being breathed upon by the god Value, the Lord of the air, forcibly suggests the idea that the authors of the sacred Vedic books knew the earth to be round and spherical. Moreover, that it had been a gelatinous mass at first, which gradually cooled off. And so when she says cooled off, now you know what the core of the earth, why it is a gelatinous mass, that for it to harden into earth, what does it have to do? It has to be blown to the surface and air blow across it. The god Value, the air, blows across this gelatinous mass and turns it into land. That's what this is all about. They knew this thousands of years ago. You didn't know that, but they did. And so it's always been going on. And so the Lord of the Air forcibly suggests the idea that the authors of the sacred Vedic books knew the earth to be round and spherical. Moreover, that it had been a gelatinous mass at the first, which gradually cooled off under the influence of air and time. So much for their knowledge about our globe's sphericity, and now we will present the testimony upon which we base our assertion. That the Hindus were perfectly acquainted with the heliocentric system at least 2,000 years BC. So 600 years before Moses was taught the great knowledge of Egypt, the Vedics in India, the Hindus already had these understandings. And I believe that the Egyptians did too, and I believe that the American Indians did too. We just found out that they have unearthed bones in the state of Montana, and that the Blackfeet Indian in the state of Montana have been there 18,000 years in North America. That's huge. The earth is giving up all of this stuff that tells you, and I'm sad because I see many spiritual people who are not interested in the blinking lights. They're interested in what will sell, make them popular, or get them clicks. And if you know anything about me, I don't have a Patreon page. I don't try to sell myself. I'm simply here, and my belief is that Source will send those to me that he has told me that he would send to me, who were hungry to hear what the truth that nobody else was hearing was. I'm not interested in being a movie star on YouTube. I'm interested in sharing truth with a few light workers that want the truth. That's all. I don't care about the rest. I expect Source to take care of me. And so, in the same treatise, the Hotar, the priest, is taught how the Shastras should be repeated and how the phenomena of sunrise and sunset are to be explained. It says, the Agnishtoma is that one, that God who burns. The sun never sets nor rises. When people think the sun is setting, it is not so. They are mistaken. For after to what is below and day to what is to the other side. After having arrived at the end of the day, it produces two opposite effects. The sun, just as everything we learned in the Kabbalion, is neither day nor night. It depends on which end of the scale you talk about the sun. If you talk about the sun on the end of the scale, which is close to you, then you talk about the sun in the concept of day. If you talk about the sun in the concept on the opposite end of that scale that is far from you, then you would be talking about the sun in night. And we don't relate that. Many people that I've met really do believe that when you walk out, you can walk on our back porch, which faces directly east, and in the morning, I swear, it looks like that sun is climbing in the sky. And the truth is that's not the truth. That's only your reality. That's how you perceive it. But as your perception changes, you begin to understand that that's not what's happening at all. All that's happening is the earth is turning. The sun stays exactly in its orbit just like it always has. It neither goes up nor comes down. You never even considered it. And so she's going to show you why that's important. The sun never sets nor rises. When people think the sun is setting, it is not so. They are mistaken. For after having arrived at the end of the day, it produces two opposite effects, making night to what is below and day to what is on the other side. When the people, believe it rises in the morning, the sun only does thus. Having reached the end of the night, it makes itself produce two opposite effects, making day to what is below and night to what is on the other side. That is the cycle over and over again. In fact, the sun never sets, nor does it set for him who has such a knowledge. The sentence is so conclusive that even the translator of the Rig Veda, Dr. Hogg, was forced to remark it. He says this passage contains the denial of existence of sunrise and sunset, and the author supposes the sun to remain always in its high position. And there's a huge difference there. In one of the earliest Navids, the Rishi Kutsa, a Hindu sage of the remotest antiquity, explains the allegory of the first laws given to the celestial bodies for doing what she ought not to do. Anahit, or Anatis, or Nana, or the Persian Venus, representing the earth in the legend, is sentenced to turn round the sun. The satras, or sacrificial sessions, prove undoubtedly that so early as in the 18th and the 20th century BC, the Hindus had made considerable progress in astronomical science. The satras lasted 1 year and were nothing but an imitation of the sun's yearly course. They were divided, says Hogg, into two distinct parts, each consisting of 6 months of 30 days each. In the midst of both was the Vashuvan, the equator or central day, cutting the whole satras in two halves. This scholar, although he ascribes the composition of the bulk of the Brahmins to the period of 14 to 1200 BC is of opinion that the oldest of the hymns may be placed at the very commencement of the Vedic literature between the years 2400 BC and 2000 BC. He finds no reason for considering the Vedas less ancient than the sacred books of the Chinese, as the Shu King, or Book of History, and the sacrificial songs of the Shi King, or the Book of Odes, have been proved to have an antiquity as early as 2200 BC. Now that's only when they became manifested. They could have actually been much later, and it will be proven that. But if archaeology continues, and they will, friend, they'll start finding written languages with AI, and they're already deciphering ancient Sanskrit that no human has ever been able. The problem with the AI is all of the thought mistakes you have, an AI doesn't have it. And so there's even a paradigm shift there. Actually, if you want to know something, AI is here for our benefit, and it came from the spirit realm. The only decision that remains for us is how do we use what was given to us. But that's something we all have to deal with every day. And so, at all the events, there are facts which prove the certain astronomical calculations were as correct with the Chaldeans in the days of Julius Caesar as they are now. When the calendar was reformed by the conqueror, many of you may know that, the civil year was found to correspond so little with the seasons that summer had merged into the autumn months and the autumn months into full winter. It was Sosigenes, the Chaldean astronomer, who restored order into the confusion by putting back the 25th of March 90 days, thus making it correspond with the vernal equinox, and it was Sosigenes again who fixed the length of the months as they now remain. In America, it was found by the Montezuman army that the calendar of the Aztecs gave an equal number of days and weeks to each month. The extreme accuracy of their astronomical calculations was so great. This is so beautiful. These are all the people that we think had to evolve into us. It's horrible. We really should be ashamed of ourselves. But the accuracy of their astronomical calculations was so great that no error has been discovered in their reckoning by subsequent verifications, while the Europeans who landed in Mexico in 1519 were, by the Julian calendar, nearly 11 days in advance of the exact time. So these dumb little Indians down here in South America that were building these great temples and drawing these heads on rocks of people and flying machines, they still, modern science and AI have not proven the Mayans' calendars to be wrong. They're actually correct. How did they learn that 7,000 years ago? And we still can't find it. So it is to the priceless and accurate translations of the Vedic books and to the personal researches of Dr. Hogg that we are indebted for the corroboration of the claims of the Hermetic philosophers. That the period of the Zarathustra Spatama, who is Zoroaster, was of untold antiquity can be easily proved. The Brahmins, to which Hogg ascribes 4,000 years, describe the religious contest between the ancient Hindus who lived in the pre-Vedic period and the Iranians. The battles between the Devas and the Asuras, the former representing the Hindus and the latter the Iranians, are described at length in the sacred books that exist. So this isn't a thing that she's just telling you. This is a fact. This predates all of everything that has to do with Judaism by several thousand years. So there was, for thousands of years, there was this way of life that was, if you want to, it was philosophical. It was mystical. They were all mysticals. They functioned in the power. You see that even in the Essenes. And so, the former representing the Hindus and the latter the Iranians are described at length in sacred books, as the Iranian prophet was the first to raise himself against what he called the idolatry of Brahmins and to designate them as the divas or the devils, how far back must then have been this religious crisis? So this predates everything that we know, friend. The Hindus were at the forefront of this before the Chinese were. And so this contest, answers Dr. Hogg, must have appeared to the authors of the Brahmins as old as the feats of King Arthur appeared to English writers of the 19th century. There was not a philosopher of any notoriety who did not hold to the doctrine of metempsychosis. Metempsychosis is reincarnation. And so that'll help you if the words didn't, because I really don't want to, this is just so much, man. It's like, how do you make everything perfect for people who know nothing about it? That's very difficult. And so I have to labor very diligently in my spirit and in my mind and listen to the source. And so who do not hold to the doctrine of metempsychosis, I will just insert reincarnation, as taught by the Brahmins, the Buddhists, and later by the Pythagoreans in its esoteric sense. Whether he expressed it more or less intelligibly, Origen, Clemens of Alexandrius, which I read way back years ago. We read some of the letters of Clement, who were writing to James, the brother of Jesus. Synesius and Chalcidius all believed in reincarnation, and the Gnostics, who are unhesitatingly proclaimed by history as the body of the most refined, learned, and enlightened men. So dig this. All of the Gnostic texts that the Catholic Church destroyed, they destroyed it because if you found it and learned it and studied it and lived it, you would become powerful psychically, and they could not control you. You just got an opportunity. 7 billion people that exist on the earth now will never get to hear those statements. It's been since the beginning, always to deceive us. And so, all of these great people believed in reincarnation, and then all of a sudden reincarnation becomes a bad thing around the year 312, if you know what that means. And so the Gnostics, why am I reading the Nag Hammadi to you guys? You get Helena Blavatsky in 1880 is going to answer the question you may have asked. Why are we reading these ancient writings? Let me show you, dear one, if you're a seeker of light. If you're not, you don't want to hear it anyways. The Gnostics, who are unhesitatingly proclaimed by history as a body of the most refined, learned, and enlightened men. If that doesn't help you to understand how profound what Saudi shared with us really was, then I'm sorrowful for you. And we are all believers in reincarnation. Socrates entertained opinions identical with those of Pythagoras, and both, as the penalty of their divine philosophy, were put to a violent death. The rabble has been the same in all ages. Materialism has been and will ever be blind to spiritual truths. And unfortunately, I hate to say this, but Christianity, for the most part, is nothing but materialism. If you live a good life, you get to suffer and you get to die, and then you get to go get punished. Or maybe you'll be the lucky one that won't go get punished. They don't want to tell you that it's okay when you make mistakes. That's the universe nudging you that you're out of balance. Pull your head out of your rear end and fix the balance problem and move on to the next one. Because I guarantee you, when you fix this one, there's another one right around the corner. As we accept responsibility for doing that, we become enlightened. Because now we don't need the universe to nudge us that we're out of balance. We recognize it psychically in our minds. And if you don't have your mind correcting you every day, your heart is dead. It's just dead. And you don't understand the connection probably between the heart and the mind. Your higher self, the true spirit light, is talking to you every day, telling you to stop this nonsense. And you just blindly continue walking like you always have been. Or not. And so, all of these great people had a concept. Many of them died. They suffered for the truth. They had to hide how they taught it. Why did the true early Christians go underground? If you think about history, it's only the people that were killed off that went underground. Many of you may not even know the history of the early Christians of Yeshua, the true Christ followers, and how the Roman Catholic Church killed all of those people. They had to go underground. They went into caves. They went out into caves in the desert. Because otherwise Rome was killing them. And then in 312, when Christianity took over, it was just an extension of Rome. And so, the rabble has been the same in all ages. Materialism has been and will ever be blind to spiritual truths. These philosophers held with the Hindus that God had, listen to this, this is a definition of you again. God has infused into matter a portion of his own divine spirit. So, you are actually not being some heretic if you say, I am. You may not even understand why I've been kind of hammering on that, maybe a little bit it seems like to you. Why am I talking about I am? Because I am, if you will be conscious and open your mind and your ears, the I am that I am is source. Stop and put that into your reality and watch how it changes you. When you begin to walk understanding that the I am is you, he is in you, you cannot escape him. He's ever present help in your time of trouble if you believe and call on him. The essence of the Bible. And so that God had infused into matter a portion of his own divine spirit which animates and moves every particle. I'll just say it like this: energy and frequency. How cool is that? And so they taught that men had two souls of separate and quite different natures. So maybe tonight is a wonderful blessing for whoever will open theirself and allow it to be. You don't have to be scared anymore. Source desires for us to find out who we are so that we can begin to do the things that we were intended and came down here to do. That's the point. That's what this is all about, is will you. And so they taught that men have two souls of separate and quite different natures. The one is perishable. We can understand that as being our body. The astral soul, or the inner fluidic body. The other incorruptible and immortal. I was talking to someone who got mad at me and no longer wants to be around me because they are steeped in Christianity, and I simply said this: if you were willing to learn, you would learn that you've lived 1,000 lives and that you have many more to live. And that was all it took. It crushed their holy cow of one life and then death and then the judgment. And they hated me. It really was the first time that I've experienced it. Like, that hate coming from a Christian is even worse than the hate that they speak when they talk to sinners and tell them they're going to go to hell. I thought, man, if that's what a Christian is, I don't want to be one of them. I want to be kind and loving. I want to tell the truth and accept, hey, if you don't believe this, it's okay. You're going to find out it's all true anyway. Why do I need to worry about that? So, they believe that we are a split being. There is a duality. It's funny because I heard someone say recently that the duality that we live in now, friends, is going away. In fact, actually, it's going to be kind of weird because we are going to have a body like Yeshua that can be visibly seen by people. Right now, when spirits come, they're very seldom seen. In fact, oftentimes, if you are a seer, you will be constantly attacked. I hear psychics that can see the dead spirits, and they say, man, there's thousands of them, and they're constantly bugging me. So that principle actually validates that what she's saying here, although she knew it without a question. And so they taught that men had two souls of separate and quite different natures. The one perishable, the astral soul, or the inner fluidic body, the other incorruptible and immortal. The ogoids, okay, or portion of the divine spirit, that the mortal or astral soul perishes at each gradual change at the threshold of every new sphere, becoming with every transmigration more purified. And I don't know that I need to explain, but I will anyways. Very simply put, every time we come back in, we transmigrate, we gain a little bit. We're here to learn something, guys. This is all gonna end, and we're gonna transmigrate. We're gonna come back in through metempsychosis, and we're going to come back in, and we're going to do this again, but we're going to have migrated. Here's one of the things I love about that, and how we can recognize old souls and newer souls. Old souls are people that seem to real easily pull these pieces together because they've already practiced them. They've already learned them through their lives that they've had. And new souls will be people who go, huh? I'm so confused. It doesn't resonate inside of them. But once you know something, then you can't unknow it. So if you don't know this and it confuses you, it's okay. It will come if you will continue to pursue it. The beauty is maybe you got to pursue it another 1,000 lives. What difference does that make? You have endless ones in which to play this game at. So you just need to put your quarter in at the next time and pull the lever and play the game. It really is becoming quite easy how we move through the universe and always have. And so we transmigrate in every life that we live, we gain more. We gain more. All of you are going to gain whatever gain of wisdom and knowledge and insight and enlightenment you are gauging. When you die, you will come in again with the purpose of elevating that again. And that's always been the purpose. And so, the astral man, intangible and invisible as he might be to our mortal earthly senses, is still constituted of matter, though sublimated. Aristotle, notwithstanding that for political reasons of his own, he maintained a prudent silence as to certain esoteric matters, expressed very clearly his opinion on the subject. So Aristotle had to be real quiet and subversive and speak under the terms, And I'm blessed to get to be on YouTube and speak this openly with no questions and no hesitations. Will there come a time when they will stop channelers and all spiritual teachers? It's highly possible. It's going to depend on how humanity accepts what's going on right now, friends. You do understand we are in a balance. I don't think that we're going to go under. I don't think that the universe is going to let us go under. But there is that timeline that could happen if humanity refuses to awaken. And that's why the concept, and so I'll say this, in politics, the reason you are seeing so crazy things that you would have never in your wildest dreams seen on the television, and the way that they talk and how mindless and stupid they almost seem, that is to you a picture of the one end of the awakening that's happening. Those who choose not to awaken actually go the other direction. And those who choose to go the other direction. It's only a choice. I mean, it's only a choice. And so, it was his belief that human souls are emanations of God that are finally reabsorbed into divinity. Zeno, the founder of the Stoics, taught that there are two eternal qualities throughout nature, the one active, the male, the other passive or female, that the former is pure, subtle ether or divine spirit, the other entirely inert in itself till united with the active principle. So it does go back to the whole thing that I've been talking about male and female in us. We are all incomplete at this point. We are not complete humans. It's funny, I heard a channeler say that, but not in this context, and now it makes absolute sense. We are not the perfect human I'm showing you in the Gnostics. We are on the road to becoming the perfect human, both female and male. No separation. That's what Jesus was talking about when he said that in the other world there will be no male or female. He told you straight in your face in the Bible that what I'm telling you that's happening was the truth. And so, that the divine spirit acting upon matter produced fire, water, earth, and air, and that it is the sole efficient principle by which all nature is moved. The Stoics, like the Hindu sages, believed in the final absorption, which we will be. St. Justin believed in the emanation of these souls from divinity, and Tatian, the Assyrian, his disciple, declared that man was as immortal as God himself. And so you say, well, why is because all of this, if you are desirous of truth, all of this is corroborating evidence that you're not losing your mind and you're not going to go to hell because Christianity tells you you are. So that profoundly significant verse of the Genesis, and to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the air, and to everything that creepeth upon the earth, I give a living soul, should arrest the attention of every Hebrew scholar capable of reading the scripture in its original, instead of following the erroneous translation or the lie in which the phrase reads, wherein there is life. A lie. God put his immortality in everything that exists that he gave spirit to. That's you and me. Now, if you can walk at low level and know yourself that you are God, you just have to come to terms with that. I don't believe that exists in his realm. He is an exceptional God. And enlightenment means that you're not laying in bed asleep anymore. You actually woke up. And when you woke up, you make a choice as to whether you're interested in seeing truth or whether you're interested in pampering yourself. Because truth is always going to cost you, and it's always going to make you suffer. If you can't stay the way that you've always been and have a frequency that's at an elevated level, for those of you who may not know, it's going to, it almost sounds like at a level there's going to be a picture where maybe out of the metaphysical realm, the concept of the rapture, which doesn't even exist in the Bible, may actually be a corrupt truth. And that being this, it would appear that there was a rapture if all of the people that are low frequency around you, you woke up in the morning and your wife isn't next to you, and you go to your friend's house and your friend he doesn't exist, and you go somewhere else, you're seeing people, but you're not seeing these specific people. Do you know what that actually is? That is what is fixing to happen. Dolores Cannon said it like this some 20 plus years ago. The earth is splitting, and here's the weird part. There's not going to be any trumpet sound. The universe reads your frequency always. And those who have a frequency above a certain level will just disappear. And those who don't will stay, and those people in their life that disappeared because they have no knowledge of where they went, that's what's headed here. That's what this whole thing is about, this graduation which we're going through. Many won't graduate this time. I don't know how many thousands of years before the next graduation. But I think I was here at the last graduation and didn't make it. Thousands of years ago. And so since then, I've had to continue to keep coming back in, learning and gathering and grabbing and pulling and suffering and going through and seeing and making sense of and going on the other side of the veil and then coming back again to yet again learn the next lesson. But this is a very significant time called graduation day in which we live in now. And those who graduate in this, it doesn't speak to you're somehow going to be destroyed because you didn't. It just means you will not get to move into the next move, which turns us into the true human. The human that I read to you about that Yeshua is. I think that's so cool because they didn't see a ghost when they saw him. When he was standing on the shore and the disciples were at sea and said, "Oh, look, there's the master, he's over there." They weren't seeing a ghost or a mirage. That's why he said, "I have not yet, do not touch me, I have not yet been glorified." He was glorified, he was light in an enhanced physical body. And it appears like that's going to be the place in which we take. As you go through, if you stay with me for the next 10 years and we read what she actually said, there are actually places where you begin to even lose yourself. You begin to cease to be anything. You're just light. And so, quite overwhelming, quite wonderful if you are hungry for the truth, and probably unsettling if you're not. And but I hope you'll take that. I hope you'll begin to maybe put the I am picture, while you're talking to yourself. But be very careful about guarding yourself about all of the I am statements, okay? Because here's a piece that is really simple and difficult to understand. And so I'm going to say it like this. You might not have known before tonight, right now, but everything that you've said today is already determining what tomorrow is going to be for you. And when I began to hear that a few weeks ago, at first it sounded very strange to me. I won't say, because these things all resonate with me, but at first it's not a resonation. There are things that resonate and I throw them out, but a lot of things, truths seem to take a lot of swallowing. I might equate it, although I'm not a wine connoisseur, but I do know that there's a time and allowed time and a breathing for that thing to manifest its fullness. And many of these truths that are coming, if you just very quickly throw them away without swishing them around, you're going to throw away a lot of really positive things that you find would really change your mind. But today you have been all day long. You have been creating your tomorrow. That's why you keep seeing the same things happen in your life. You are creating tonight when you go, when you say, I am sick and I am hurt and I am sad and I am broke and I am all, and I am and I am and I am and I am. The universe hears that. And that's what the universe gives you, is what you believe. So I'm going to say this in closing. The most powerful tool that you have to radically change your life is what you actually believe. It doesn't care what you think. It doesn't care what your moral standard is. It doesn't care whether you're gay or ungay. Makes no difference. The universe pays no attention to any of that. What the universe pays attention to is what you believe and what you feel to be the truth. And the universe says that if that's what your belief is, that's what truth is. So now if you'll take that, because I just said a mouthful, I just dropped $500,000 right on top of your head and you didn't even recognize it. So when I say, and this is morphing as well, when I say to you that you did it, you did it. You really did do it. In fact, you've been doing it your whole life. That's why your life looks like it does, because you keep speaking those things. I'm sick. You are sick. I guarantee you, if you believe you're sick, you're sick. If you believe you're weak, you're weak. If you believe you're strong, you're strong. If you believe that you're right, you're right. And that's exactly what the universe will manifest. What is your belief inside of you? I'll take you to my corroboration for that. Yeshua said, whatever thing you say, you believe when you say it. That is what the universe deals with. He was teaching the same teaching I'm teaching. I'm actually teaching Yeshua like never before. But you are. Whatever inside of you believe is what you are creating, and you are the creator of it. You are the God particle that makes it happen. And so you keep speaking, nobody ever loves me, or, nobody's ever kind to me, or why do people treat me like this all the time, and why have I always had to suffer, and yada, yada, yada. There's a billion of them, and every one of those things are giving you exactly the reality that you possess, because that's what you truly believe. That's huge. Take it and swallow around and let it be a blessing to you. Source is amazing. This universe loves us. There's no need to fear. Maybe fear yourself. Maybe fear that you're not really pure. And of course, how do we find that answer? We look inside. And if you'll listen to your higher self instead of telling your higher self that they're wrong all the time when they correct you and tell you that your behavior is not acceptable, instead of doing that, that I think is the biggest tool that exists. Yeah. It's the biggest. Most people run and close their ears to their higher self. Higher self is there. You cannot run. You are in you. You are the true you, not this you. So, peace to you guys. I hope you have an amazing rest of your week. May the provision that you believe for manifest itself quickly. Namaste.